Hi there. Really warm welcome from me. My name is Virinaga. I'm the chair of the Brixton Buddhist Centre, and yeah, we've got a really lovely evening, evening here tonight. I'm joined by Aryanisha, recently ordained, and by Vajratara, who ordained her, or at least gave her her name. This is a welcome back for Aryanisha. So, in normal times, what would happen is Aryanisha would go off to have her ordination retreat and come back to find a huge community of Sangha ready to greet her and welcome her home. So this is a virtual welcome home. So there's just three of us here today to facilitate the evening. But I know that you'll be tuning in from home. So what you can do is we've got a chat box running here. So just put your well wishes and let us know where you're tuning in from in the chat box. And if you've got any questions during the course of this sort of hour for Aryanisha or for Vajratara, then you'll also write them in the box. And if we've got time, we will get around to answering them. So just tell you what we're going to do tonight. It's very, very simple in a way. To start off with, I'm just going to say a little bit about what ordination is. And also a little bit about the kind of how it happens, if you like, the kind of the steps within that. And then I'm going to bring in Vajratara, and Vajratara is going to explain the naming of Aryanisha, of course, formerly Charlotte. And then we're going to basically then hand over to Aryanisha, who's going to say a little bit about her personal experience of being ordained. And also then we'll just finish off with a little ritual led by Aryanisha, in a way her first symbolic act as an order member in the Brixton Sangha. So I hope that sounds okay. I'm really looking forward to it. And it's always a real delight to welcome back a new order member to any situation, but particularly to Brixton, where we don't have that many order members. So a new order member is a really special occasion, really one that's worth celebrating. And of course, for me, Aryanisha is I'm particularly pleased to see Aryanisha ordained as well. So what is ordination? What is this thing called ordination? For those of you who don't know, it's effectively a kind of commitment to practicing Buddhism, or practicing the three jewels within the context of our Triratna tradition. And many of you out there might know of what's called a mitra, or being a mitra. That's where you basically make a formal commitment to practicing as a Buddhist. And as part of our community, effectively a friend of the community. Being ordained is like the next level. It's like committing your life to that practice. So not only is it an element of your life, being a Buddhist, becomes your whole life. And it's taking it extremely seriously in our tradition. We definitely, to the best of our ability, commit wholeheartedly to that ideal, to practicing the Buddha's teaching, practicing the ethical precepts, practicing Sangha, spreading the Dharma, working for the good of all in our community. And so when you are ordained, you are given a new name to represent this commitment to a new life. And so that's why, and you get also a kesa, one of these things to represent, the whiteness is meant to represent the ethical purity that we aspire to, and also, representation of the three jewels, the Buddha, the Dharma, and Sangha. So it really is a kind of stepping off point for, a real deepening. And you become what's called a dharmacharini, or a dharmachari, one who fares in the Dharma. So it becomes in a way, an expression of your entire being. And Vajratara will say a little bit more perhaps about the specifics about the names, but quite often the names are, they're often aspirational, but they're also usually represent qualities of the person. How I've heard it said is that if they were to become a Buddha, that would be their Buddha name in a way. That would be if they became the full embodiment of that. But the process of getting the name is quite it's quite a long one. I mean, the process of ordination is a long one. The ordination is the culmination of quite a few years of practice and training and working on oneself. And the point of ordination comes at the point where well, people judge that person to have got sufficiently behind that ideal, sufficiently behind that principle. And so, yeah, the name represents that kind of stepping over of that moment. And that name is given by so there's two particular people involved in the act of ordination. Well, three people if you count the person being ordained. But there's what you call, we have these things called preceptors. And so each person being ordained will have a private preceptor and a public preceptor. And yeah, the private preceptor is someone who knows the person very well, a good friend of them, and they really work to help that person along. So pretty much throughout their training, but particularly for the final few years, they'll really help that person, work with them to help them develop and grow and prepare for ordination. And so they know the person very well in a way. They get to know the person very well, might be very close friends. And so they're the person who particularly sees that person's qualities, and they're the person that picks the name. So in this instance, Vajratara is Aryanisha's private preceptor. So she has chosen this name after helping Aryanisha develop in her Dharma practice over the last few years. There's also in the ordination ceremony, there's also a public preceptor as well, usually a very experienced or senior order member. And the person being ordained may not know this person so well, but they're there to kind of represent the order accepting that person in. So in a way, they're sort of like the gatekeepers. They make sure that the person is ready to enter the order, enter this community of friends. And they're ultimately the person that conducts the ceremony and ultimately puts the kesa on the person, so gives the kesa. So Vajratara is also actually a public preceptor as well. So she, on the most recent ordination course, helped ordain 20 women. But anyway, so she's been very much involved in that training process of quite a few women as well. So I won't take up much more time, but what I'll do is I'll bring in Vajratara now to share a little bit about the specifics of Aryanisha's ordination, and particularly a bit about her name.
Thank you very much, Virinaga. Just a small correction, I'm not actually a public preceptor. I'm in what's called a consultation process to be a public preceptor. So these positions of being a public preceptor or a private preceptor are taken very seriously in our order, and there's a long consultation process by which one takes up those responsibilities. But yes, I am a private preceptor, and I'm extremely happy to have given Aryanisha her name and witnessed her Buddhist practice in a more private sphere. So when she was ordained, we had a very beautiful ceremony, just the two of us, in which I witnessed her commitment to the Buddhist practice and her readiness to take on the responsibility of being a new order member. And then I told her her new name, and her new sadhana practice, which means a kind of special meditation practice that you get when you're ordained. And we went through that together, and we kept the name a big secret. And then on her public ordination, I was very happy to announce it to the world. So yes, she becomes Aryanisha. And Aryanisha is a Sanskrit name. So one of the things that happens is we do give names that are in Pali or Sanskrit in the order. And one might ask why, because they sound a little bit exotic and we're not that familiar with Pali or Sanskrit. But it's very important that we do that, partly because it links you to the overall Buddhist tradition. So Buddhists generally take Sanskrit or Pali names when they're ordained. And it's also international. So we're an international order. And wherever Aryanisha goes in the world, in our order, she can say what her name is. And people will understand that in the order and understand the significance of that within the order. The way the Buddha described it is, he said it's like when you enter the order, it's like many streams entering the ocean. You've got your particular conditioning factors, your culture, your gender, the way you look at the world, the way you think about the world, your family conditioning. all of those things. But when you enter the order, you're seen first and foremost as someone who's very committed to the Buddhist path and as part of the order as a whole. So wherever Aryanisha goes, if she can't speak a single word of the other language when she meets another order member, they'll know what the significance of Aryanisha and pretty much what that means. So yes, so her name is it's a reminder of Buddhist principles, and also a little reminder of a goal or a precept that she can take on. So it said that your name should feel a little bit too big for you. It's something that you grow into over time. Good, Aryanisha's nodding there. So, you know, not to worry if it does feel a little bit too big at times. So Arya means a noble. It's specifically in the context of a kind of well-born or noble personage, but it doesn't mean someone within a particular hereditary family. It doesn't have that kind of connotation. It is more like the English word noble, in the sense that it also has connotations of qualities, good qualities. And you know that because some people just seem to be noble, upright, dignified, with good, exemplifying, wonderful sort of moral qualities, outstanding moral qualities. So Arya has that kind of connotation. In Buddhism, it particularly signifies people who've got irreversible insight. So Buddhas, or what we call stream entrants, or you may be familiar with bodhisattvas, who are people who aren't quite enlightened yet, but they are training to become enlightened, and they have seen something about the way things are that means they can never go back. They can never go back to not seeing those truths about the way things are. And it means they're utterly committed to a path of deepening wisdom, expanding compassion, and really giving to the world ethical qualities and meditation and wisdom. So it's usually Arya has the connotations of someone who's a Buddha or a Bodhisattva. So Aryanisha literally means dreams in Sanskrit. And the way that Sangharakshita talks about dreams is he said that if one reflects on the qualities of enlightened beings, of the Buddhas and the Bodhisattvas, of those who are the Arya people, people who've got irreversible insight, if you reflect on the qualities of those people, that transforms all levels of your consciousness. He said it's like shining a light in the sea. At first, you know, when we start to practice the Buddhism, we might reflect on the Buddhas and the Bodhisattvas, but it doesn't permeate very deep into our levels of consciousness. You know, it becomes an interesting intellectual idea. But the more we put those teachings into practice, the more we reflect on people who are a bit further in their Buddhist practice than we are, the more we reflect on the qualities of the Buddha, the more that permeates down into the deeper reaches of our consciousness, and even into the level of dreams. So one could look at it like that, yes, the more we undertake Buddhist practice, the more it transforms all levels of consciousness. You could also look at it along the lines of Martin Luther King and I Have a Dream, as a kind of vision of what we could become and what society could become. So if you know Aryanisha, you know that she does dream a lot. She does talk about her dreams. I found it always quite an interesting way to kind of get into. It's like I have to follow Aryanisha's dreams to find out what's going on for her in her Buddhist practice. It's not irrelevant. It's there's something in there that I find quite interesting. If I kind of dig a bit deeper, I can find out what's going on in her meditation and in her general Buddhist practice. And so, so I wanted to have the word dream in it because I know that dreams are very important to Aryanisha. So there's that thread. And also I've noticed that within Aryanisha's dreams, there is a kind of thread of always coming back to the Buddha, always coming back to the Buddha's qualities, even coming back to a kind of expanded vision of what the world could become in line with Buddhist principles. So over the years, I've noticed that in the dreams. There's also a very strong thread in her dreams about helping others, and also a thread where she's wanting to become something bigger, even become someone with irreversible insight, become a Buddha or a Bodhisattva. So that's what I've noticed about Aryanisha. There's always been this thread. Sometimes, you know, whatever happens in the chaos of life and consciousness, there's always a thread that Aryanisha comes back to, which is the Buddha and the qualities of the Buddha, and building what we call a Buddha land, making society a good place where we conducive to Buddhist practice, conducive to ethics, meditation and wisdom. So I noticed that thread, and I wanted to go back to that thread of yeah, also, I think she has got a big vision of what the world could become and what society could become, and wanting to come back to that kind of dreams as visions, dreams of what could be possible in life. But I wanted that to also reflect what could be possible in the sense of specifically Buddhist qualities, because from a Buddhist point of view, the greatest dream that there is, the only dream that's really worth following, is the ultimate liberation of all beings. So the little precept in there is for Aryanisha to remember to keep reflecting on the qualities of the Buddhas, on transcendent qualities in the sense of limitless love, limitless wisdom, limitless contentment, in a way, limitless energy, which are exemplified by the Buddha, qualities of the Buddha. And to not kind of, it's easy with dreams and visions to sort of, over time, they become more and more sort of stagnant and mundane. They become a bit closed down as life kind of impinges on us. All the difficulties of life impinge on us, and we can sort of lose those magical dreams. We can lose the real dream, which is, of course, from a Buddhist point of view, transcendental insight. So the name is also a reminder to keep reflecting on the qualities of the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas, allow that to permeate to the deepest level of consciousness, and to really follow the dream of society becoming a Buddha land, not just a better place to live, but a place in which all beings can become liberated from suffering and enlightened. So that's a little, I think the thing with names is, you know, I've got a starting point as the person who chose that name, but Aryanisha's got her whole lifetime to work out what it means and to really see the significance of it, which I don't even know. You know, it's not just that the name is too big for Aryanisha, it's even too big for me. So I'm sure she'll find her own associations and her own way of working with her name and putting it into practice in her life.
Oh, thank you, Vajratara. I feel like instead of saying anything else, I should just go away and reflect more on that, particularly since we haven't seen each other for a few weeks. I feel like I've just got like another layer of teaching. Yeah, like, very good thoughts. Yeah, so I'm aware that there are people on the chat. I have got the chat up in the background, so just want to quickly say hello to people who have been joining. So we've got Vajratara, Joe, Leah, Polly, Adam, other Joe, Jill, Alison. I think Halpin is here as well, and yeah, I think a few others are watching too. So thank you so much for joining. And I know there's quite a few of my friends who've already messaged me to say that they can't join right now, but they will be watching this in the future. Great. Yeah, so I'm going to say a few things. Funnily enough, when I've talked to other people about writing these talks, they spend a lot of time thinking about them. And I basically came back from the retreat, had one day and started work, and which has actually been very grounding. I'm pleased I did. It's kind of kept me focused and sort of helped process ordination in a different way. So I have been reflecting. Sorry, that's my phone. I'll turn it off. I have been reflecting, but thankfully I haven't spent loads of time agonizing over it, because I think that was one of my concerns that the people have talked about. So yeah, I'm gonna start off with, I will just say, you can start hearing really funny noises in the background. I have got 2 guinea pigs and I can't control what they do, so they're just doing their thing. I've just got a message from Vajratara that my internet is dropping out a little bit, so I'm hoping that makes it better. Is that better, Vajratara? Yeah, okay, I'll persevere. Great, so I'm going to talk about 3 different areas for a bit. I'll see how many sidetracks I go off on. But I'm going to talk about a little bit about my experience of being on retreats. I'm going to talk about my name, just a little bit about my name. And one of the questions that I've noticed that people have been asking me, which is, do I feel different? Which has been a very good question. So I thought I'd give some of my reflections on that. But yeah, do as you're listening, if there's anything you want to hear a bit more about or other questions you've got, do feel free to drop them on YouTube, and then hopefully someone might be able to tell us what they are, maybe not, and I can come back to them at another point. Yeah, so on the retreat, I think my overwhelming experience of being on retreat was just a very deep happiness and contentment, very, very deep happiness and contentment, as if all the kind of sort of energy and forces in my life were aligned, as if, yeah, maybe just all the stars and the suns and the planets of the universe were kind of all pointing one direction. There was just a lot of energy that could kind of like flow through, no kind of sense of resistance. I felt like I had a very sort of clear conscience. We were doing a lot of rituals and things around sort of letting go, confession practices, all sorts of things to kind of clear our mind so we could sort of step forward into the order. And one of the lines that sort of cropped up about how I was feeling was a line from one of Bhante Sangharajta's poems on meditation, and that all the spirit's storm and stress are stilled into a nothingness. See, I was just very happy on a mundane level and a very deep level, all the different levels. I just felt very, very happy. I was just thinking like, oh, it's quite significant. It feels particularly significant because ordination training is hard. Like it is the hardest thing I have ever done. Maybe if I go through the consultation process for being a preceptor, that will feel very hard too. But it kind of demands everything of you, and you sort of need to put your whole self in. So, and it's, in the best way possible, deeply humiliating at times. You're trying to live according to your ideals, and of course you repeatedly don't, and that's very public, and you've got to go and talk about it, and it's in the Sangha, so everyone kind of knows, and you're kind of, there's just all of you comes out, and all the little bits of you that you don't like and kind of wish, I'm kind of I was a real goody growing up as well. Like I didn't get a warning at school until I was in like year 6, and it was a shock to everyone in the class. I got one warning. And so the idea, that there was bits of you coming out that you tried to kind of keep hidden, so you could kind of keep this facade up that, you're the sort of perfect version of yourself, which obviously everyone can see that you're not, but you try and convince yourself. So it's hard. So the fact that I was just deeply happy and content, and I did have a difficult time before going away as well. Like I was acting unskillfully at times, and quite a lot of sort of negative mental states were coming up too. And that just really dropped after sort of a couple of days. So I was actually on retreat for 3 weeks. I was at Taraloka for 3 weeks, but the first week I was just on kind of a little sort of holiday, relaxing. Just easing in. But sort of very much as soon as I was turning up, I just started to relax, and everything had gone on before, just kind of very quickly dissipated, and I was just left with this deep happiness and contentment. And I thought actually I'll leave it till later, but I've been reading a few lines of the Dhammapada recently on the happiness section, so I'll bring that into the threefold puja in a bit. So there's this deep happiness and contentment. And there's also this kind of element of the retreat that's just magic. It's like pure magic. It was 2 weeks. I've been back for longer than I was away altogether, I think just about now. but it felt completely outside of space and time. Even though I was at Tara Loka Retreat, retreat centre, which is where I've been there a few times before, there was something about it that felt like it was just happening on a completely different cosmic plane, and still on a kind of normal mundane level of existence as well. So it was this kind of magic. Lots of things felt very kind of with deeper meaning, throughout the retreat and my private and public ordination, ones that has kind of stuck around most. And I think it was one of the last days. Yeah, I think it might have been one of the last days. And we were meditating, and I opened my eyes, and just across the field I saw this hair start to kind of bound across the field. And I think hares are very, very magical creatures anyway, but there was just something about it kind of turning up, and this kind of fleeting moment of seeing it just as this retreat, which felt like it'd gone on forever, might never have happened, and yeah, felt like it was going on forever, was starting to kind of draw to a close in this fleeting moment of this hare kind of coming into view and then passing. And it was just this gorgeous, gorgeous, magical moment. And then as soon as it's gone, I just really hoped that someone else in the team, there's only 5 of us there, I hoped someone in the team had also seen it. And I turned and Dani Utah, who's on the team, she was there, and her eyes were open, and she just nodded in recognition that she'd seen this hair and that we'd kind of witnessed it. And it's just a very sort of simple little moment, I guess, but I just had this kind of like quality of magic about the retreat. Yeah, and then finally, I just wanted to talk about being with the team. So quite a few of you won't know, but it was a funny old setup. So there were 5 of us there, me getting ordained, and then the 4 other team members, so Vajratara, Danita, Subhadramati, and Hriday Gita, and everyone else was joining in via Zoom for the retreat itself, and then for their ordinations, that was all sort of happening in person. That thankfully wasn't happening over the screen. So it's a funny sort of old setup. So it meant that I was very sort of aware and felt connected to the other women on the retreat who weren't there, but of course my sort of very immediate surroundings and kind of relationships were with the team. And I sort of talked to Vajratara a bit about this during the retreat. It felt like both had this kind of experience of my own kind of ordination throughout the retreat, but also this kind of something extra of getting to see the team in action. And I guess what I got from being around them was this very kind of special sort of vision of the order at its best, doing what's most important, part of the order, and friendship within the team. Very, very lovely to be around everyone. No tightening, even with all the tech stuff going on and setup and all these kind of different things everyone's having to work out. Never done it before, and they were just kind of doing it. But there was this real kind of harmony and friendship. And then also this kind of this real kind of practical effectiveness as well. I guess that's what Vajratara is talking about this kind of dream of being in the world. It was just quite incredible, really, what was able to be pulled off by the team in such good mental states. And beyond the team as well, like so many people had, there's definitely my sense of my ordination process. It's like so many people have helped me and helped the other women who are on that retreat get ordained, either very practically. So some people had cooked to some of the group of women who in a house, I think about 3 of them, their Sangha had cooked them a load of meals so they didn't have to cook during the retreat. Very practical things that people had responded to for those conditions. But also with my friends, my Kalyana Mitras, Darshavni and Sudhajaya and Amra Pushpa, and yes, there's loads and loads of friends in the Sangha who've helped me on my journey. Both the sense of the team vision of the order on the retreat itself, but also a sense of kind of gratitude and connection to all of those people who've been absolutely essential conditions for Aryanisha to kind of emerge. Yes, that's a little bit on the retreat. Still sort of working out what I do and don't want to say about it, actually. It's quite, I think it's part of that kind of being in that kind of very magical realm. And so, yeah, then my name, Aryanisha. I think one of the things I've been struck by, part of coming back has been working out who I am through other people, actually coming into relationship with other people. And I've been really struck by how immediate people's response has been, particularly non-Buddhist. So I work, I use my name at work now, and everyone's been very curious and interested. And quite often the first immediate response is that it's very beautiful. And I think there is I think Vajratara's given me a cracking good name. I think it's got a lot of deep meaning and it just sounds gorgeous. I love it. I love the sound of it. And I think Vajratara clocked that when he gave me the name, I didn't even know what it meant. And I went, yes. It just sounded really good. And I do think there is something about the aesthetic of it, the aesthetic that I really love, and I can see that other people are drawn to. And because I have the sort of way that I talk to people about being Aryanisha, being a Buddhist, is I just kind of let people know and then just see if they want to ask questions or not, and I'll respond to that. But I think both the name and the way that sort of I am with people in the world, with being an order member now, does allow them to kind of get sort of drawn in if they want to and ask questions and be open about it. And very interestingly, I'm interested to see what Vajratara's response to this. One of my old housemates recently said this week that it sounds like a Disney princess. It sounds like a Disney princess. And funnily enough, this last week or so since coming back, various lines from Disney films have been popping up in my mind about dreams. And the first one that came up was from Sleeping Beauty, and that's a dream is a wish your heart makes. Dream is a wish your heart makes. And one of my first responses actually to first conversations I had with Vajratara about my name was having a real sense, of the kind of this dream not being sort of just something that just happens in your mind that doesn't have significance, and this sort of inner and outer component of it. It's that wish of the heart of the world. And very interestingly, Vajratara, I too was thinking about Martin Luther King, and I have a dream, and I've gone back and had a look at some of the script of it actually. So there's something about that kind of wish, that kind of volition to bring something about into the world. Obviously, he's sort of talking about emancipation. And when I was back in Taraloka a few years ago, actually when White Tara first turned up for me, we were doing I think it was like a little heart wish exercise or something like that. I love a heart wish exercise. And my wish at the time, and I still remember standing up in front of this beautiful White Tara shrine. My wish was, I wish to be a pure vessel to the world. And that really sort of stayed with me. So it's that kind of wish, that kind of dream. Interestingly, for being that pure vessel, so it's that kind of the Arya, the purity comes in, and then that kind of love and truth flowing freely into the world. Yes, that outer component, that's sort of being in the world. That is it's very important to me. And kind of weaves in quite a bit into this third area I wanted to talk about around how do I feel different. So I was trying to work this out when I first got asked it. It's like, I don't know. How do I feel different? And I still definitely got that thread of a deep contentment, being there kind of underneath this sort of stability. One of the things I think that's really dropped is the kind of inner voices around that kind of, am I good enough yet? Am I good enough yet? Is this enough? Is it, the kind of insecurity that can just take up quite a lot of energy and is very kind of I think Vajratara said this, but I think myself, but having kind of let go of that and having more of a sense of deep contentment, so there is much more energy that's freed up to be kind of interested in others, their growth, them achieving their kind of fullest potential. Yeah, so I felt very, yeah, I'm sort of still exploring what it's going to mean to be an Ord member in the world. I do feel very committed to this Sangha, and I just want to give a little shout out, particularly to the women in the study group that me and Amrish Pushpa lead. They have been absolutely wonderful and supportive. So I feel very strongly about, turning up with them every Thursday and exploring our lives and practice together. Yeah, and then also in my work, but not just sort of on a mundane level. So I work in sort of communities around Brixton, around Lambeth, that are typically very excluded. Yeah, facing a lot of challenges in life, very sort of extreme poverty, discrimination, disadvantage. But one of the things I've been sort of exploring at the moment more has been the things that get in the way that my kind of conditioning gets in the way of how I connect with others, and hold myself back, limit kind of my own potential. So yeah, it's been quite interesting just to explore how some of the tendencies I have kind of keep playing out, and to work on those very much as a kind of as a practice. Yeah. So maybe could just have, actually I've not got YouTube up because it's kind of draining my internet, but maybe Vajratara, you could just see if there's anyone want to drop any questions in at all. Okay.
Yeah, there's no particular questions, just lots of love and appreciation for you, really. Just a lot of people saying welcome back, congratulations. Your mother is here as well.
Yay!
Yeah, so lots of people sending their love, but nothing particular. But if there is anything, do put it in the chat box if anybody's got anything that they would like to ask Aryanisha. And then, but otherwise, I think we can probably get on with the ritual.
Yeah, lovely, thank you. And I'm sorry about my connection. I think, yeah, I think my provider's just having a little bit of a day today. Yeah, great. So what we're going to do now is we're going to do a threefold puja, which I'm hoping my internet connection is going to be good enough to do. And yes, we're going to do a threefold puja. What I'll do is at the beginning, I'll just I'll give us a few minutes just to kind of settle, just a couple of minutes before starting. And then I'm going to read a few verses from the happiness section of the Dhammapada, which I've been reading quite a few of my mornings lately. And then we'll do the threefold puja in call and response. Vajratara is going to be responding. And then right at the end, we'll just have a few minutes when we've finished, just to kind of sit in stillness and to absorb the practice. And yeah, and then we'll finish there. And maybe what I just encourage you to do this evening is try not to do anything useful at all between now and when you go to bed. And if you do that, you are much more likely to remember your dreams. You're much more likely to remember your dreams. If anyone's interested in lucid dreaming practice, there's a book called Dreams of Awakening. I've got some good tips. So it's yeah, it's very good to do puja before going to bed and not have anything else before then. But first of all, unless there's anything else from Vajratara and Vajratara, we'll salute the shrine and call and response. Great, a little round. Namo Buddhaya.
Namo Buddhaya.
Namo Dharmaya.
Namo Dhammaya.
Namo Sanghaya.
Namo Sanghaya.
Namo Namah.
Namo Namah.
Om.
Om.
Hum.
Hum.
just taking a few minutes just to settle. Maybe feeling the contact of your body with whatever you're sitting on. Its weight dropping into the ground. Noticing the movement, the sensations of your breathing body. Happy indeed we live, friendly amid the haters. Among men who hate, we dwell free from hate. Happy indeed we live, healthy amid the sick. Among men who are sick, we dwell free from sickness. Happy indeed we live, content amid the greedy. Among men who are greedy, we dwell free from greed. Happy indeed we live, we for whom there are no possessions. Feeders on rapture shall we be, like the gods of brilliant light. Victory begets hatred, for the defeated one experiences suffering. The tranquil one experiences happiness, giving up both victory and defeat. There is no fire like lust, no blemish like demerit, no suffering like the taking up of the 5 constituents of conditioned existence, no happiness like peace. Hunger is the worst disease, conditioned existence the worst suffering. Knowing this as it really is, one realizes that nirvana is the highest happiness. Health is the highest gain, contentment the greatest riches. The trustworthy are the best kinsmen. Nirvana is the supreme happiness. Having enjoyed the flavor of solitude and tranquility, free from sorrow and free from sin, one enjoys the rapturous flavor of the truth. Good it is to see the spiritually developed, to actually dwell with them is always happiness. Association with the wise is pleasant, like the coming together of relatives. Therefore it is said, follow one who is wise, understanding, and learned, who bears the yoke of virtue, is religious and spiritually developed. Follow one of such a nature as the moon follows the path of the stars. So we'll start the threefold puja now, and at the end we'll just have a few minutes of stillness, and then that will mark the end of the evening. Threefold puja. Opening reverence. We reverence the Buddha.
We reverence the Buddha,
The perfectly enlightened one.
the perfectly enlightened one,
The shower of the way.
the shower of the way.
We reverence the Dharma.
We reverence the Dharma,
The teaching of the Buddha,
the teaching of the Buddha,
which leads from darkness to light.
which leads from darkness to light.
We reverence the Sangha,
We reverence the Sangha,
the fellowship of the Buddha's disciples,
the fellowship of the Buddha's disciples,
that inspires and guides.
that inspires and guides.
Reverence to the three jewels. We reverence the Buddha
We reverence the Buddha
and aspire to follow him.
and aspire to follow him.
The Buddha was born
The Buddha was born
as we are born.
as we are born.
What the Buddha overcame,
What the Buddha overcame,
we too can overcome.
we too can overcome.
What the Buddha attained,
What the Buddha attained,
we too can attain.
we too can attain.
We reverence the Dharma
We reverence the Dharma
and aspire to follow it
and aspire to follow it
with body, speech, and mind
with body, speech, and mind
until the end.
until the end.
The truth in all its aspects,
The truth in all its aspects,
the path in all its stages.
the path in all its stages.
We aspire to study,
We aspire to study,
practice,
practice,
realize.
realize.
We reverence the Sangha
We reverence the Sangha
and aspire to follow it,
and aspire to follow it.
the fellowship of those who tread the way,
The fellowship of those who tread the way.
as one by one,
As one by one,
we make our own commitment,
we make our own commitment,
an ever-widening circle,
an ever-widening circle.
the Sangha grows.
The Sangha grows.
Offerings to the Buddha. Reverencing the Buddha,
Reverencing the Buddha,
we offer flowers.
we offer flowers.
Flowers that today are fresh and sweetly blooming.
Flowers that today are fresh and sweetly blooming.
Flowers that tomorrow are faded and fallen.
Flowers that tomorrow are faded and fallen.
Our bodies too, like flowers, will pass away.
Our bodies too, like flowers, will pass away.
Reverencing the Buddha,
Reverencing the Buddha,
we offer candles.
we offer candles.
To him who is the light,
To him who is the light,
we offer light.
we offer light.
From his greater lamp,
From his greater lamp,
a lesser lamp we light within us.
a lesser lamp we light within us.
The lamp of Bodhi shining within our hearts.
A lamp of Bodhi shining within our hearts.
Reverencing the Buddha,
Reverencing the Buddha,
we offer incense.
we offer incense.
Incense whose fragrance pervades the air.
Incense whose fragrance pervades the air.
The fragrance of the perfect life,
The fragrance of the perfect life.
sweeter than incense,
Sweeter than incense.
spreads in all directions
Spreads in all directions
throughout the world.
throughout the world.